Welcome to the Emazing Tennis Podcast. I am so happy you're here. This podcast will serve as a guide for discovering potential within ourselves through unique interviews with very successful people from around the globe who will unlock their secrets to living a balanced, happy, and fulfilled life and share with the world. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to another Emazing Tennis Podcast episode. I'm really excited about today's episode because we have Emma Doyle with us. She is the energy and high performance under pressure coach who is a world leader in unleashing human potential. And she is somebody that I really look up to. She's my mentor. She's helped me a lot in my career. I've been learning so much from her. She has been coaching for over 30 years, and she, through her keynote speaking, mentoring, coaching, consultancy, she inspires, improves, and really impacts players, coaches, people all around the world. I'm so happy I connected with her. I cannot wait to hear more about her, that she shares her story, how she does it all. And welcome, Emma, to my podcast now.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on another Emma's podcast. I love supporting female entrepreneurs, and not just female. Let me even, when you make an unforced error in life, I love it when you pick yourself up on it straight away. I love supporting entrepreneurs, and you are a game changer in our sport. And I'm so glad you reached out to me as well. So looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, I really mean it. Like how I introduced you, you're really somebody I look up to. It's not just because of the name and the hair color, but like you are actually the one that inspired me to start a podcast, and you really inspire me all the time. And I want to mention to the audience right from the start about our membership site. I mean, you built this membership site. It's basically yours, but we collaborated recently together, where we're putting some courses, they're combined together. Can you please tell the audience a little bit more about how you started, when you started that membership site, and a little bit more background about that? Let's start with that too.
So acecoach.com.au, because yes, my mum always says, remember to go home, back to Australia. But it happened when a friend of mine called me a hoarder. I had a USB stick. Well, I had about 15 USB sticks with about 800 tennis videos, and I was hoarding. She's like, that's really mean that you're just keeping all that. And it wasn't like I was keeping it to myself. I would film a video and I was like, oh, that video doesn't show the right angle, or that video is not good enough, or you can't hear me explain the activity properly. And so not only did my friend call me a hoarder, then COVID hit. And when COVID hit and my speaking career got cancelled, Monday, boom, all my corporate gigs got cancelled. Tuesday, all my sporting gigs got cancelled. In the speaking world, I was like, I think it's time to actually do something with my hoarded tennis videos. And so I got a quote from a technology person to build my online site. And this gentleman quoted me $25,000. And I was like, I think I can teach myself how to build an online, membership site. So it took me probably about 6 months to get all the videos together and put it into something that I'm really proud of now, that it lives there. And it also wouldn't be possible without someone like you, because now my focus is 100% in the corporate world and in the mindset coaching world. So I was looking for somebody like you, and I love the universe, by the way. I'm a huge believer in the reticular activating system, where your attention goes, your energy flows, what you put out into the world what you get back. The 5 closest people that you check out who they are, who do you spend the most amount of time with, because that'll be a reflection of you. Same with your finances, same with where you are in your relationships. So that's just an extra little philosophy that I passionately believe in. So when you came into my world, I was like, this is a perfect collaboration, because you're out there posting incredible content, great videos, that are very much what I'm all about: energy, passion, inspiration. And as you and I say, 75% is good enough. You don't need to have that perfect video, or don't wait. Even if there's one through line for our episode already, if you wanted to know one of the things that I live my life by, take action. Turn that motivation into activation. Just if you've got an idea, or you want to start a business, or you want to change something in tennis, in sport, in corporate, do it. Find a way to just do it. And so it was a no-brainer for me when you walked into my life to say, hey, I've got some videos. Can we collaborate? And acecoach.com.au was born. And the membership site is so cheap. There's like so many videos. You can even just join for a month for literally $20 on our bronze package. And you've got access to just hundreds and hundreds of videos for either parents, coaches, and players. So that's how it got started. So thank you, Emma, for being a part of it.
No, thank you so much for letting me be a part of it, because like you said, I believe in the universe too. And like my gut was telling me to reach out to you. Like when I just felt connection, like when I feel like I'm on the same level. I mean, you're way ahead of me with so much more experience, but like how I want to live this life, how I want to inspire, how I want to coach, motivate others. And, I'm getting there. So, I mean, I'm already learning so much from you, even like you're just talking like this, and you're saying these things. So I want to talk about you a little bit, your background, where you're from, and where do you live now, and what you do. What you do is like you do so much, but yeah, just tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so thanks for that question. I think everyone's got a great backstory, and mine started in Melbourne, Australia. But when I was younger, we did move to the UK a lot. My parents are both British, so we were back and forward between Australia and the UK when I was in primary school. So I think that helped my people skills in a lot of ways. It also helped my ball coordination. I'm a huge believer in encouraging parents to play multiple sports for their children. So I played rounders. I played a lot of soccer. I used to walk around the local neighborhood and just with my soccer goalie gloves on and say, I bet you can't get the ball into the garage behind you, and try. And I'm sure that helped my volleys as a doubles player. And then with regards to my tennis, I feel like I can relate to a lot of people in many ways. I feel like I'm an ordinary person living in an extraordinary life. I wasn't a great player. I hardly represented it was slowly but surely my local section, my NSJTA, the northern suburbs in Melbourne. And then I got another opportunity to play a state tournament, got lost, first round, got smashed. So for me, my journey, and I was quite small and just a skinny sort of kid, but my journey really began when I was 14 years of age, when the kick serve had just come out. And my coach said, do you want an extra private lesson a week? I'll teach you this kick serve if you coach for me one night a week for free. So I traded a private lesson for a coaching experience. Had no idea what I was doing. I just looked on the court next to me and I was like, okay, I'm just going to copy what that person's doing and give the kids a great time. And I remember walking off that court going, this is like the greatest job in the world. I wonder how I can become a great coach, which ironically is of course the title of my book that I've just released, What Makes a Great Coach? That question of always wondering, excuse me, so what does make a great coach? And even though that coaching journey started from a young age, one of my biggest turning points in my life was when I got into the course of my dreams, sports coaching and administration. And I'm there and I'm like, this is like amazing. And I'm 18 years of age. And I got pulled into the coordinator's office, who was a very famous football coach at the time of my favorite team since I was 5, Australian football, that is, Carlton Football Club. And David Parkin, he said, and this is in the book as well, the opening chapter, he's like, do you want to be the best coach you can be? I was like, yes, what have I got to do? And he's like, well, have you maximized your playing potential? And I was in the best shape of my life. I was running boxer-size classes for fitness. I was hitting heaps of tennis balls and getting better and better. I grew and I was stronger. And all of a sudden, all the girls that used to smash me in the 12s and the 14s were not even playing tennis anymore. Sadly, that's another conversation for another day. And the next thing you know, I was on a plane from, Melbourne, Australia to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It was the only place I said I'd go, whoever wrote back first. And that was the only place that got back in touch with me. So I was, literally, I deferred and transferred to play college tennis. Best thing I ever did to really maximize that space, which allowed me then to go and represent my country at the highest level. So even though I hadn't played tennis at the highest level, I had pushed myself to really try and maximize my playing potential. And that put me under pressure. It helped me represent a team, understand what it means to really be a part of something. So I highly recommend the college pathway. And of course, my partner's business, Transition Coach for Athletes, helps US college athletes find US college scholarships. Huge believer in that. And that really set up my coaching journey. So I represented Australia 20 times. Then I went into coaching coaches how to coach. And now what I do, it's actually quite simple. 3 things. I'm a corporate speaker and I do executive coaching. And the third thing is I coach coaches how to coach in the workplace. So I teach that methodology from an Australian company called Open Door Coaching. And that company changed my life. And fast forward from 2006 to now, I'm actually facilitating their content, which is so awesome. It's like, when again, the universe just comes full fold, it's like a 360. I never would have thought that I'd be running that content, because at the time it was like, this is so amazing. And now I'm running courses here in the States, living in Denver, Colorado. So that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing, because you must then believe in it so much and you must really live it. And, you have, over 30 years of coaching experience, so you must truly, truly believe in that, in the philosophy and in everything. So you're coaching others how to do the same thing, right? Well, what's been like, why do you like it so much? I would say, like, why?
Because here I was as this tennis coach, this knowledge expert, and I had also finished the highest level of coaching qualification in Australia, which took me 6 years to get, by the way, not a weekend in Australia to get your level 3.
Wow.
So here I was, I had biomechanics and angles of separation, and I'm very, very grateful for that early foundational knowledge, even though I was quite young at the time. And all of a sudden, I found myself only being able to relate to half my players. Like, why can I bring out the best in this player and this player, but why do I not bring out the best in those players? And so it was when I removed myself from the tennis court and I went and studied open door coaching. I'll never forget this session where we had to coach, like a role-played coach, a fellow person in the course, and we weren't allowed to give one directive command. Like, we weren't allowed to give one piece of advice. So we had to coach by only asking questions. And I was like, this is stupid. Or I was like, all my friends come to me because I've got really good advice. And, I'm like my friend's counselor. And that's, this is what a coach is. And then, so I thought the exercise was stupid and it really challenged me. And I was really out of my comfort zone. And then I watched the lead facilitator, who's the CEO of Open Door Coaching. And she's also the woman that on my bottom of my book here, Natalie Ashdown, that helped me finish and really write and pull all the book together. But she then demonstrated a coaching session through asking questions, not just open questions, but laser questions and specific questions, and what and how and when questions. And she drew out the information from the person in front of her. And so the biggest pivotal moment was when I realized that the godfather of business coaching is actually someone called Sir John Whitmore, who's no longer with us. But he used the concepts from the inner game of tennis to define coaching. And it sits above my computer here every day, and I'll read it out to you. So he used the inner game of tennis to help define the essence of coaching. And that is, coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It's helping them learn rather than teaching them. And when I understood that concept, I still had all this awesome technical foundation, and I still am like a junkie of strategy and all of that. But I was like, how do I create learning environments where the player can come to their own conclusion around their own game style and the way that they want to play and their own motivations, but still guide them almost like a blank canvas. They're painting it, but I'm providing the paint and the brush and the canvas, and changing the rules of the canvas. Like you can only paint it using your left hand or something along those lines to help increase topspin on the backhand, right? So that changed my life. It changed my language, and it catapulted me back into coaching coaches how to coach in the tennis world during that period of my life, because I was like, oh, they don't teach you this information in the coaching course. They don't teach you how to ask brilliant questions. It's changed somewhat now. I know that there's influence there now regarding this communication technique, but coaching so much more than just someone, getting someone to finish with their elbow high. And I know that you believe that, because on my podcast you said energy, connection, and communication is what makes a great coach. So that's one of my biggest sliding doors moments.
That's awesome. I feel like as coaches, and even you now, probably you're still learning, right? You're still because you have to grow to help others, right? I feel like in our industry as tennis coaches, we're too focused on like the strategy, on the technique, on talking too much about that. Where I know we spoke a lot about this, where even what I've changed a lot in my coaching since I met you and since I've been talking to you, since you've been mentoring me, is I'm not yelling anymore, because that's how I grew up. I'm from Eastern Europe. I was always like, yelling just because that's the way to go, or like pick up balls, or, like we have on the membership side too, we have about reinventing, you have ball picking up, because now I have coaches that work with me and I'm coaching them to no more, it's not punishment. Before it was okay, if you don't pick up in 1 minute, you're going to do a suicide, the running lines. And now it's like I make it a game, like I bought those baskets, everybody has one, okay, who picks up more gets the prize. So motivating those kids, that's just an example, to be there, to motivate them to be better, to have more passion for the sport instead of just yelling at them all the time. I mean, I'm not saying that I was yelling all the time, but on my bad day, or like I woke up today not feeling so great. And we all have that, or like something's happened at home or something, and I'm not in a good mood. I leave that as soon as I get to the court, that stays out the door. I'm here to motivate, inspire, and coach these kids or adults, or it doesn't matter who it is, or another thing that's changed also. Before, where I would, for example, have a kid or an adult, well, mostly a kid, that really doesn't want to be there, and I would kind of be like, oh, they're lazy, they don't want to be there, right? No, my job as a coach is to get the best out of them, and I'll do everything what it takes instead of just giving up and saying, they don't really like tennis, So those, and I feel like I'm already coming a long way. And these are just a few things I'm telling you, thanks to you. So thank you for that. I was on your podcast, as you mentioned. I want you to mention your podcast. I want you to mention your book, because that is a big deal. I probably should have talked about that first, because you just released it. Tell me more about your podcast and about the book, please.
Yeah. No, well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. And one thing I would say, and the opening chapter of the book is being the best coach you can be, is all about growth mindset. The other reason I want to share everything I know right now is because I'll never stop learning. So the more that I share, if I'm always learning myself, I'm always just keeping growing and moving forward. So just one thing, sometimes I think tennis coaches, we try and keep all our information just to ourselves. And that's also what I love about you, Em, is you're out there putting your information out into the world. And I'm sure that can't be easy at times. So just kudos to you and keep doing it. And because if you have that growth mindset and that learning mindset, then everything else becomes easy to continue to share with the world. With regards to my podcast, the coaching podcast, and I'm really, we did start it a while ago. So I'm so excited we just were able to get that name back in the day, the coaching podcast, because it really is about coach for success in sport and business. And it is the reason that the book exists. So on our podcast, we ask the exact same 4 questions before I get to go rogue and interview the guest wherever I want to go. But basically, the 3rd question on the podcast is in 1 to a maximum of 3 words. What makes a great coach? So you can probably see my 3 words are, I know it's an audio podcast, but I'm energy, empathy, enjoyment. Now, for example, enjoyment didn't make the book. So the book is based on the top 10 practices of the world's best coaches. Now, I interviewed over 500 humans. Of those humans, we had 17 tennis players, 7 were former world number ones. The rest of those coaches are broken down into 328 tennis coaches, 105 business coaches, and 71 sports coaches from over 21 different sports. So it's rich in research and it's rich in data. Then we summarized those principles into the top 10 practices. So yes, energy and empathy are 2 of the practices within the book. But essentially it wasn't what I just believe. It was, okay, who are these coaches that I really admire, including yourself? You made the cut as a young game changer. Okay. And then synthesizing them into those top 10 practices that I'm really, really proud of. And even the question itself, what makes a great coach? This came about because I asked Roger Federer this question back in 2014. And he said, someone who listens. And that was really just triggering me for like 2 years. Like he said that, like I just started asking random people. And then 2016 was when we started the coaching podcast. And I'm really proud of it because it's grown. So keep at it, Em. You know, your first episode will be nothing like this is, I'm on episode, I think 114. Oh. And now and even for the last year, I haven't missed a Tuesday, and I interview 1 sports coach and 1 business coach every week, because the sports coaches can learn from the business coaches and the business coaches can learn from the sports coaches. And together that's really what I think makes a great coach. And they're not chapters in the book, they're called practices. So in the book, we believe that it's not best practice, it's just next practice. You don't go, like, for example, the 3rd highest response was listening, right? That I just mentioned earlier. That's practice 7 in the book, even though it was a 3rd highest. So they're not in order as well. Okay. I like that as well. I'll explain that later. But what I love about that is you don't just tick the box and go listening. Oh yeah, I do that. I'm a great coach. I listen. Listening is a practice. It's a daily practice, whether it be with your partner, whether it be you're out at a social function, and you know we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So the book is something I'm really proud of, and it's also I get to share my personal journey, my own story about when I went back to Florida just to learn from the greatest coaches in the world, and just there's a lot of vulnerability there about how I wasn't a good listener and how I struggled with empathy and things like that in my early coaching days, and how it's a constant evolution. Yeah, we hit Amazon #1 in September. So in business coaching and mentoring, and a number of other categories. So I'm so proud of that. We had a huge launch party. And if anyone out there, you're thinking, what should I get my, a nice season gift for your coach? Then I highly recommend the book. But of course, I only recommend it because it's 6 years of my life just summarized into this book. And I'm so proud of it, actually. So if you're not sure what to get your coach or a leader or a manager, because it's obviously business coaches as well, please check it out.
That's awesome. That's such a great gift idea too. But I still, honestly, I didn't read it yet. I just got it in the mail last Thursday, and I've been out of town, and I can't wait to read it. And you have 1 more book. I got 1 more.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Yes, let's talk about that book.
Okay. Well, basically, what do I wear on my feet to play tennis? So it's Dr. Seuss inspired rhyming book for 2 to 6 year olds. And the reason my sister was, she and I were just having fun once, and she's seen me work with her kids and of course my nephews back home. And so she's very creative, and so am I on court with activities, as you well know. And I love little kids. I love what they can come up with. So we just started like playing around with these concepts on court to help parents how to develop coordination in their kids. And what the concept is that you read it with your child, and then you go outside and act out the story on a court or in a driveway, and of course it's just got the QR codes on the back, and if you scan those codes, that's me on court with a little girl, and then another young coach that I used to mentor, he's on court with another little boy, and showing the book of what do I wear on my feet to play tennis, and the little character tries on a cone for a shoe, and a net for a shoe, and a racket for a shoe. And of course we all know the best thing to wear on my foot is a
Am I?
No, I was just, I was getting the audience to think about it. No. And then of course, right at the back, there is a coloring section. So you've got all the little
coloring,
different characters. There's 7 little characters, and they can create their own little names for each of their characters. So it's kind of like a multi-purpose book from that perspective for parents. And why launch one book when you can launch 2? But going through the process, I don't think I'll ever launch another book again. No.
Really? I was going to ask you, like, do you plan on writing more books, or you're like, I'm done?
I see. I don't have kids of my own. I'm an extremely good auntie, and you have kids, so it's kind of like if I've just given birth to these books, and the minute they've just given birth, you're like, I don't want to ever write another book again.
Yeah.
I ask me again in 6 months, 12 months. I don't know. But when you do write your book, Em, please come to me first, because I made all the mistakes. And like I always do in life. That's why I love being a mentor as well, to let you know how I would do it differently next time, even with my own. If there is another, what do I wear on my head to play baseball? I'm not sure, but we'll see. But I'm very proud of both books, and I'm so excited to be able to share a little piece of what I know with the world.
No, that's awesome. Like I said, you inspired me to do the podcast. You're inspiring me to do a book too. But when I reach my 100 episodes, and my goal is to learn as much as I can like this. And who knows? You never know. Another child or book is coming.
Yeah. And that's the best thing about content as well. So whether it be a podcast, whether it be a blog, whether you like writing, whether you like speaking, whether you like reading, find what that medium is for you, and then put it out into the world. That's one of my best pieces of advice, because we don't all learn the same, and we don't all communicate as effectively the same way. So the more you can find that, the better the more success you'll have faster. I'm always into accelerated learning, and that's why neuro-linguistic programming is very dear to my heart as well, because that's all about how do we short circuit somebody else's experience to build our own confidence to be able to step into our greatness.
I want to also mention this. You were on TED Talk. When was this, and what did you talk about?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, thank you also for mentioning that. And again, if anyone wants to do a TEDx talk, please reach out. But essentially it was 33 drafts over in like 6 months preparation over in 13 minutes. There was a lot of work, and it's called Unleashing Female Potential. And it was in 2017 in Oneonta, New York. And I'm really, really proud of the talk because of the amount of preparation I put into it. And also at the time, female participation was dropping off the cliff in our chosen sport of tennis. And it was really hurting my heart to just see this dropout rate. And especially I saw it when I was growing up. So I was like, what's happening? What are we doing wrong here? How is the experience for teenage girls going so badly in our sport of tennis? And not just the sport of tennis. So I started doing my girl power camps. And from those girl power camps and even all my years of especially working with high performance girls teams, I would ask them, for example, what are their strengths? And they would look to mum or dad or coach and not be able to answer that simple question. So the talk had two key messages. How do we engage to be able to unlock female potential? How do we engage them? And then how do we, through listening, that comes out in what makes a great coach. And then how do we empower their inner voice? How do we strengthen their inner concept of themselves, build that inner coach? Because I believe that everyone has an inner coach within them, so that they can, be the best version of themselves possible, especially during those teenage years where there's all sorts of turbulence going on at an emotional and a chemical level. So the girl power camps off the back of that talk as well were born. They had three main philosophies: engage, develop, empower. So the development piece was the actual on-court tennis content. And of course, it's in our membership site, Em, for like $20 a month. You can get access to the entire how to run a girl power camp at your club for $20. The whole blueprint is in the membership site. And then if you want Emma and I to come out and run it with you, just upgrade to the gold membership site, and we'll talk you through how we can do that. But I'm so proud of that because of the fact that just how many girl power camps now I've run around the world, and inspiring other coaches to change the blueprint and not just think about how we do things, how we've always done things. If we do what we've always done, we get what we've always got, the definition of insanity, right? So how do we do more task-based activities? How do we do more cooperative and competitive activities? How do we allow girls to feel competitive, right, by lots of mini matches, right? So that there's not that, I won or I lost, or their self-esteem isn't determined by winning and losing. How can we empower and develop their self-esteem to be able to build the confidence that they can do whatever they want to do with their life? So that's a huge part of the girl power camps. It's a huge part of my TEDx. And it doesn't just apply, of course, to teenage girls. I mean, if you're dealing with boys, if you're dealing with adults, and in the workplace, I ask the same questions. I say, if you were an Olympian, what would you be an Olympian in? And I'm not just talking about tennis, or we're not just talking about Olympic sports. I'm talking about Olympic qualities such as my dogged determination or my grit. That should be Olympic sports, but people struggle to answer that question. So Em, I'm going to throw a question back at you right now, and that is, what do you think are your three inner core superpowers?
That's a tough question, and I will try to answer, but I was just going to say that as you were saying that, and you were saying about asking a girl and she looks up to her dad or to mom, like I feel like it's not just girls. I'm 30 years old and I'm successful in my business. But still, when you ask me that, I still have a little bit of that hesitation in me. I'm still like, mom, like, what is it? Still that little girl in me, like, doesn't have that confidence. And this is that was my next topic. Like, I wanted to talk about the female coaches in our industry, because I always talk about that topic with whoever is on my podcast. And you're a perfect person, because I don't know, I have to think about that question to answer, like I really do, because I am working on it. Like I am really working on it, because I'm not maybe as confident as I seem on the court, as I seem on my videos, as I seem like this, I still have these things. I feel like I still have so much space to like unleash that potential, that full potential. Maybe I will. I believe I will. I believe I will. I believe I'm on the right track. I think I have a lot of good qualities, and I just have to figure out what are they like, and how to like just put them together so I can how you say, when a flower blossoms.
Blooms. Yep. And
Right.
can I just say thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty, because there's so many people out there that would think the opposite. And we all have it from time to time. So one of the coaching tools that is associated with the book, so anyone that buys 10 copies of the book also gets access to the entire coaching toolkit. There's 20 coaching tools. So would you believe practice 2 in the book is belief. Now, the coaching tool that goes with belief is called the onion model. So imagine an onion, and in the center of an onion, it's kind of looks like a peace symbol. So that's why I asked you for 3 core superpowers. Now, if you don't know where to start, ask 5 people from different areas of your life. So it might be a family member, people who are your biggest cheerleaders. It might be an auntie or an uncle. It might be someone who you've coached for 5 years, a colleague, and maybe someone from a completely different industry. And look at what they say about you. Because, Em, I've read your testimonials. I know in the time that we've spent together, and I would not have invited you to collaborate on our membership site if I couldn't see your inner core superpowers. So ask someone like me, have a look at what the similarities are. And then even if you just write one in your onion model, then what you do, if you feel like you don't own another one, but everyone's saying it, then you put it in the next layer. It's called the stretch concept. I've only ever met 3 tennis players in my life where I said, you have to step up and win for Australia today. And they're the types of people where you can be more direct. And we mentioned it earlier, maybe sometimes yelling brings the best out in them. That's 1 every 10 years, right? It's less than 5% of the population where that coaching methodology does seem to bring them to their best version of themselves. So I just wanted to share that coaching tool. So everyone right now, draw yourself an onion and think about just stretching 1 layer at a time. Because most people think, oh, I can't do that, or I can't be like, say, even like yourself. I'm not that person. You don't have to be. Just pick 1 area in your life where you can stretch 1 layer at a time, rather than trying to jump out of the deep end. And then most people these days, unfortunately, they sink, they don't swim when they get thrown in the deep end. So instead, just build yourself layer by layer by layer. It's another one of my life learnings, one of my life philosophies. And I know that you are going to get back to me on that answer. You are going to get back to me. I know that.
I will.
So
I will.
thank you.
On the next podcast, or we'll release it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely will. But thank you for that. Really, that's really something I'm gonna get back to you for sure. What do you think about in our industry? Well, in tennis, why there are not that many female tennis coaches? What's your opinion on that? And do you think that we should do something about it?
Well, as you know, I always see the glasses half full, not half empty. So I think there are a number of organizations these days that are actively making a difference in trying to do something about it. And not just a token, let's run a course to empower female coaches. I think programs like mentoring, there's so many mentoring programs out there for our female coaches. I think people, even like Judy Murray is one of my mentors, the way that she looks at even the workforce. She looks at working mums, people with young kids. How can we start to introduce them into even her little Miss Hits program that I love? So I always try and look for where the opportunities are. Obviously, why questions as a coach. I'm always about what questions, rather than why is there not. I always try and say, well, what is the current situation, right? And it is growing. Yes, it's growing slowly, but we have moved from 18% up to 23%. Now I think it's around 27 or 28%. So that's moving. It's moving in the right direction. But there are a number of reasons why initially, especially when I was growing up, let's just take the hours of when most people can come to a tennis lesson is not necessarily always productive if somebody's raising a family. Now, do I think that map needs to be remodeled? Absolutely. Like for me, COVID that's the best thing about COVID. All of a sudden, people are working from home. All of a sudden, fathers or partners can step in and allow a female coach to be a female coach a certain hours. Perhaps it's the way that we model the hours. It doesn't need to be, depending on what your specialty is. I know, you know, Gigi Fernandez, I mean, she does all her work in the morning. She specializes in adults, right? So we just have to get creative. We just have to encourage not only the numbers to increase, but also the quality, and also asking, not just throwing a woman because she's more sensitive to work with beginners and throwing her in with 5-year-olds if that's not what she's passionate about. I think even we've got to lose the labels. We've got to lose the stereotypes of what we think a female coach can be and do. And I know, I love that Emily Mauresmo broke the mold with that. And Andy Murray's such a, is always helping journalists pick up on their language to say, you know, that women are just as equally qualified and skilled to work at whatever level that they want to. Yeah. So, and then of course, travel is a big part of coaching at the highest level. Can be an inhibitor, but it doesn't need to be. The traditional model of what a woman does in a family or environment is no longer the mold. We see it time and time again. I know it's, again, that's slowly changing, but I don't know. I try and see solutions. I never come up with a problem if I don't have at least 5 solutions that match. If I'm complaining about something, let's think 5 possibilities. But there's so many great organizations out there, the PTRW, the WTCA, the WTA, you know, the USPTA has a whole gender equality arm, and, you know, I was on the USPTA, the LGBTQ plus task force myself, to try and just raise awareness. Just the more we can raise awareness, it starts with self-awareness. And how can we ask better questions to find out what women really want? There's been a number of surveys go out there. And then we can actually provide the support and the education needed, not only for women, but for directors of tennis as well, in terms of the hiring process.
Well, yeah, thanks for that. It's just, I just like to ask this to, you know, to see everyone's opinion, because, you know, but like you said, it's growing. You see, I didn't know that I thought it was still 23%, but you're saying that it grew to 26.
And the Australian government has just invested $13 million into helping more women become coaches. Like, so there's grants out there, there's funding out there, there's opportunities out there. We have to get better at understanding what our own self-limiting beliefs are about what we think women can and can't do, because I feel like my entire life I've been knocking on the top of the ceiling and just breaking it down and just saying, you know what, if that person can do it, so can I. And I'm a huge believer in that. That's why people like you and I am so glad that we do what we do, because if other women can see it, as Billie Jean says, right, then they can be it.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I've seen it, you know, like even just with my social media appearance, I get so many messages from all over the world, from females like me, coaches, and they believe in themselves more. And that's my goal at the end of the day, you know, like we said, like you inspired me, I'm going to inspire some new generations to come. And talking about that, what would your advice be to a younger self, to a 20-year-old Emma or a 30-year-old Emma? Is there something that you would do differently, or something more, you know, do you ever think about that? Or is there anything that you would change, or what would your advice be?
Yeah, practice 8 in the book is curiosity. And most of us are born curious. As a kid, we're born curious. And somewhere along the line, that often gets stifled or stuffed or suppressed. Your curiosity goes missing when you're navigating the teenage years or in your 20s, and you feel like you've got imposter syndrome, and you have fear of saying the wrong thing and looking stupid. So that's my best advice to my younger self, is allow your curiosity to flourish, to bloom, as you said earlier. Plant that seed of asking the why questions of somebody. Why are you doing that? Oh, would I have done that? Is that what I saw? Learn the look. Go and stand on the court with anyone that you admire and respect, and even maybe someone you don't, and stand on the court and say, do I see what they see? Learn the look. Why are they saying, why did they say that? Or why did they ask that question? I'm always looking for coaches who can unlock the learning by asking great questions. And be curious. Ignite your curiosity. And if you have a question that you think is stupid, voice it, say it, ask it, rather than say all the time too, this is what I think, this is what I think. Voice your questions to then build your own blueprint, build your own map of the world, and then try on the different reasons why maybe mentors failed. Ask, what's been the biggest failure? And then add that to your own coaching toolkit, or your playing toolkit, or your parenting toolkit, or your corporate toolkit, and try it on, and then say, yeah, I like that tool. I'm going to add that to my resources when my threshold is challenged, or when I feel pressure. So that is my best piece of advice out there. And ask more questions, ask more questions, ask more questions of yourself, of your players, and get curious on how you can improve your communication skills.
That's awesome. I really like that. I'm going to take that advice for your younger self. Now I just have a few more questions. How do you define success? What does success means to you?
It's a great question. And I get asked that question a lot. And I feel like that my answer changes based on where I'm at in my life. And I think that's okay as well. But definitely being able to harness energy and helping empower others to see real possibilities beyond what they ever could have imagined is how I define success. So when I harness my own energy, and yes, people always say, Emma, you've got such great energy. And my partner can attest that that is not always true, right? So how do I harness my energy, and how can I see real possibilities beyond whatever could have imagined, and then take action and live that on a daily basis? When I can turn my own motivation into activation, and I can help others do that's being successful, because everything else will come, whether it be finances, work. I call it work-life rhythm and work-life integration, not work-life balance.
Okay.
That is how I live the best version of myself possible, with what's most important to me, my values, which are definitely family and health and happiness.
That's exactly what I was going to ask, is like, okay, is it success? Is it like making certain amount of money, or being famous, or like, but like it's truly those values, and then also you're trying to empower others, and that makes you then at the end of the day, by living like that, happy, fulfilled, and successful. At the end of the day, that's success to you, not like how much money you made. But I feel like, talking about the money, like I feel like that also has to come in play too. Or I mean, like honestly, like we want to be successful. It's not the ultimate goal, right? But like to be happy, to provide some things.
One of the things, Emma, that I think your audience might find useful is the values chain. Because if you renew your values every year, and if you think about a chain and you stick your values at the top, even if your top 3 or your top 6 values in the context of your life today being 2022, and I do this at the start of every year, and I put them at the top, then imagine a chain going around in a circle, okay? That then determines your attitude. Your values determine your attitude, your outlook. Those then will determine your behavior. So the way that you show up. The way that you show up will determine your results, and then your results will form your character. So if you imagine that in a circle, and they change, but the values drive your behavior, and that impacts your results. So when we talk about success and we think, and if we don't have an eye on our finances, then that's not great either, because you do need to be able to provide that work-life integration that I spoke about, and that work-life rhythm. It's just If I put family in my highest value, then I'm going to have financial goals related to providing for my family. I definitely don't have it as what drives my definition of success. And I nearly said but, by the way, that's be careful of that out there, coaches. When you make a really great comment, you say the word but, it negates everything you said before. So replace but with and. And when I focus on what's most important to me in the context of my life right now, then everything else flows.
That's great. That's great advice. Thank you so much. And just talking about that, do you have short-term goals, long-term goals? Do you have a vision for yourself? How often do you think about it, and how important that is from your opinion?
I've been a goal setter all my life. I keep it this simple. I set 5 goals a year, and I don't always achieve them. I set them I do my values right before New Year's Eve, right? Setting my year up for success. I do my goals somewhere a couple of days after New Year's Eve. I know a lot of people out there think, oh, New Year's resolutions. They're not New Year's resolutions, because I've been doing this now for 20 years. I set 5 balanced goals every year. At the end of the year, around Christmas time, when I believe in celebrating goals, for example, I can't tell you how many times the book has been on the goal to finish it within the year, right? So let's say 3 years ago that was part of my goal. I would just give it a percentage. So for example, to finish my book, I didn't achieve it 3 years ago, but let's say I wrote another manuscript. So I maybe achieved it 40%. And then 50%. This is the first year that I'm going to be able to finally tick off that goal. But guess what? It just kept carrying over to each year, because I knew that I wasn't ready to let it go. I nearly let it go a number of times. I was like, this is a stupid goal. Why do I keep putting this on my goal list? So I'm a big goal setter. I keep it that simple. It's 5 healthy, balanced goals relating to my life, my career, and my health. And I set about going about achieving them. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't judge my self-worth on that as well. I celebrate it if I did. Even if I complete something 80%, I celebrate that.
That's good. So yeah, so that's good. I like that, how like before, for the new year, and it's a new year's resolution, but I feel like it's important to have goals. It's important to have a vision, something that drives you, something to get you up in the morning. I know it sounds so cheesy, but it's so true. Is it in the book too?
Practice 3 is purpose.
Yeah, purpose.
So
yeah,
purpose is directly, if you don't have a goal,
yeah,
then you're going to lack that
yeah.
that vision, that what I call the rudder on the boat. You just when the boat just starts spinning round and round. And therefore practice 1 in the book is decision making. So your decision making becomes clouded. Like, for example, it's a no-brainer for me to be on this podcast with you, because it's aligned with my values, and it's aligned with my purpose, and it's an easy decision to say yes to.
Yeah.
Whereas some other podcasts, it's maybe not quite the right fit or the right audience. It doesn't isn't aligned with my values. So the goals are directly linked to motivation.
Now this is completely off. I have last 4 questions. You have like some questions that you keep on your podcast. Mine are not as interesting as yours, but I'll get there.
No judgment. Take that back. I'm going to make you take that back.
Okay. So I have last 4 questions of the podcast, and they're awesome. You're going to love them.
See, now I'm excited.
Yeah, they're great. Oh my God. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
What book do you recommend? Do you have a book? Because, okay, I love, some book that besides your, but seriously, like, I love reading lately. I really do. And I feel like I'm not just reading a book like before. I'm actually involved in it, and I'm writing notes, and I'm like learning from it, and I love it, like about personal growth or anything.
Sorry, back to my book for 2 seconds, but people, please don't take this the wrong way. Actually, at the end of every practice, there's reflection questions, like a little notebook for you, and I want people to write in the book.
Yeah.
So I love that you do that, because that's how I consume a book. I'm a highlighter, I'm a tab girl, audio books, big fan. But I'm going to recommend one that had an impact on my early career that I've never said on a podcast before, and it's called Tuesdays with Maury. And it's about a dialogue between an older gentleman and a younger boy. and I know you have 2 boys in your life. So I just thought I'd go a little bit left of center and recommend one that I haven't, that had a really great early impact on my life.
Okay.
Because of the wisdom of the old man and the relationship with the young boy. And it's got so much in there for coaches. It really was one that I got a lot out of as a young coach.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I've never heard of it. Do you have any routines? I see you as a successful person, right? Like, do you have any routines, like morning routines or like night routines or midday? Do you meditate? Do you read? Do you exercise?
Yeah.
Nutrition, anything? Do you have a daily routine?
Yeah, so definitely I do. And also I want people out there to know that I'm not a religious routine person. So I would do 3 gratitudes in my gratitude journal every morning, but 3 times a week.
Okay.
Don't necessarily do it every day. It's a little bit about my personality too. I'm very creative. Like I go with how I feel on the morning as well. So that's one thing. The other thing that I do at the start of every week in my handwritten, I'm still got a handwritten journal as well, is I commit to what I'm going to do for my exercise. So I run 3 times a week and I go to the gym 3 times a week. So I actually make an appointment with myself, handwritten in my diary, and I block out time. So by making an appointment with myself, I never cancel. But if it's not in the diary, I'll put editing a podcast ahead of the going for a run. I will put a lot of things ahead of my own health. But when I write it down, and also I have a lot of different running buddies. So I love running with other people and chatting or listening, if I can't run with somebody at that certain time. But I find mid-morning for me is when I get my exercise done. If I wait and leave it until later in the day, again, I don't have the energy or the mindset to get it done. So I make that an appointment early. And I definitely set up my week with regards to my time. So in the mornings, I always put my phone on silence notifications, and I don't turn on my phone on to look at those notifications until either 9 or 10 in the morning. So I usually have a really productive morning where I can dedicate working on my business for about 1 or 2 hours, depending on the day. So I really love that. I highly recommend it. And it really works for me. And having said that, somebody who believes in all this stuff, my partner, who's, as I mentioned earlier, an amazing person, has a complete opposite way of working and a complete opposite schedule. There's no right way. And just don't give yourself a hard time if you miss a morning or you and then finally, I'm a huge believer in 6-minute visualizations. I give my clients so many of these. Everyone can find 6 minutes in a day to do a visualization, and I do one once a week. I'm huge into golf. We play golf every Wednesday in a league, and so that's our day. I also love that it's middle of the week, where I feel like it's a day that we get to spend doing what we want to do. And I've had a goal all season to break 80, and it's the last week of our comp this week. And the week before I shot a 79. Finally, so I can tick off that goal. But that's, again, something personal, but they're the things that I really love to do. So I make time. And I think that if there's an important message, it's about making the appointment with yourself. Yeah. Because do you cancel on other people?
I try not to.
Yeah, pretty rare, right? It's pretty rare that you would cancel a tennis lesson. I mean, there have to be a huge emergency.
Unless it's an emergency.
Right. So why would you cancel?
Yeah. No, but it's a great point. That's a great point. Like this morning, an example, like I organized, I'm going to run at 5:30 with other 2 women, right? And my son didn't sleep well last night. I could have easily just been like, hey, I didn't sleep well last night. I can't come, No, I showed up. But if I didn't set that up with them, I probably wouldn't go, I'll be like, it's okay, I'll go later. And then I'll probably get tired during the day. I would not go.
Me too.
So exactly what you say, and I started actually that, putting setting time, like like I have a lesson time, like I have a podcast time, like answering to this. This is a time that I'm going to work. This is a time for myself.
Mm.
That's it. It's so important. But it's good that you said that for gratitude too, because I started one time because, everybody's recommending write your gratitude, three gratitude, even like in the morning or at night. And I like started, but I'm like, I don't know what to write today. And I know it sounds bad, but it's like, okay, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful, like I felt like it was just too much. So I stopped. So I feel like maybe if I do it once a week, that would maybe be good for me, like
Yeah.
stuff
And
like that. Yeah.
one other quick tip around that is sometimes I write down that I'm really grateful for things that are about to happen the next day.
Okay.
Even in the morning. So if I know that I'm going to do a podcast with you, I'm really grateful for the chat that I had with
Yeah.
Emma.
Yeah.
Even though I hadn't had it yet, I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that opportunity and the time that we're going to put together. And then, like the other day, I went to a networking function at the zoo, and I said I'm really grateful for the opportunity to connect. That
Yeah.
simple, and it was one of the best networking nights I've ever had for my business.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. Do you have somebody that inspires you? Like, do you have somebody you look up to?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I do. In lots of different areas. My dad inspires me. My mum inspires me. My parents are so inspiring. Claude Silver from VaynerMedia, who I can't believe I'm still so chuffed that she wrote a little testimony on the back of my book here.
Wow.
Gary V, of course, you
Yeah.
have to know
Yeah.
Gary V.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Gary V's, she's the chief heart officer of VaynerMedia. So I follow her and I listen to her podcast. There's a podcast that I'm going to be on myself. Jeff Wickersham, he was on my podcast today, and now I'm going to be on his podcast tomorrow. He is so inspiring, and he always says, "Get after it, get after it." And I, whenever I'm struggling, I'm like, "Emma, get after it." He's a speakers like I moved to America to become the best speaker I could, and I'm nowhere near where I have the vision for myself to be in the corporate world. I feel like in the tennis world, I've done spoken at a number of huge events, which has been amazing. And my parents' proudest moment when I spoke at the same conference as the Pope, being the keynote speaker in front of 5,000 coaches in Rome, right? But on the corporate level, there's so many amazing speakers that I follow. Some of them I've met, some of them because my podcast, I get to interview them, and some of them I just follow online. That's the beauty of being online, whether they be dead, alive, podcast, you've met them in person or not. And, I've never met anyone. I said, can I buy you a cup of coffee or a tea at your convenience? I haven't met anyone that's ever said no to that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so grateful and thankful for this conversation that we're having right now. And I will start doing it once a week, just to get into my routine again, and not to, like you said, not to be hard on myself if I miss a week or miss a day. It's okay. We're humans, right? And last thing, but you already kind of spoke about this. And this is my last question, but I feel like I should ask it before because I always come to it, at the end. We're all trying to find some balance in life, right? But you didn't call it balance. How did you call it earlier?
So work-life integration and work-life rhythm, because sometimes we have to work super hard, so then we can take that time off. Let me answer it this way. To finish, rounding off your podcast, imagine a boat in the middle of the ocean again. We'll go back to the boat. Is it ever still?
No.
Never still. It's permanently changing. Life is constantly changing. So I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life rhythm. There's a rhythm where you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work late. You're going to have to get up early. You're going to have to work on business development. And then there'll be a time where you're going to then have to implement your business development plan and then celebrate your success. Take that downtime. Think about the rhythm or the cycle of your season. Like, it always astounds me how tennis coaches in Australia take January off when the Australian Open's on. Not when I had my business back in Australia, January was our busiest month because all tennis coaches were taking holidays. Yes, I get that the weather's good, but there are places in Australia you can go to any time of the year where the weather's pretty good, right? So think about your season and your cycles and think about how do you find your rhythm so that you can create that work-life integration. Because when we're doing what we love, and of course, finishing off practice 4 in the book is what the number one reason of what makes a great coach: passion. So if you want to maintain your passion, you want to continue to ignite that passion, then I passionately believe in work-life integration rather than you just work so that you can live. I've never lived by that philosophy. It's why I'm an entrepreneur, and that's my philosophy on it. And people out there might take it differently, but that's what I believe in.
And this is why, like, everybody has a different answer, and that's the beauty of it. And then you can take bits and pieces for whatever suits your boat,
Exactly.
No, this was awesome. I'm so happy with this conversation. I appreciate you so much, and thank you for taking time and being on my podcast. It was really my pleasure having you. Thanks for all the advice and all the lessons. And anything else you want to say?
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Emma. Keep doing what you're doing. Remember, 75% is good enough. 75% perfection rule. And please, everybody out there, take action, inspire, improve, impact. And I look forward to connecting with anyone. Please check out the book, What Makes a Great Coach, and keep asking great questions of yourself and others. Thank you, Em. I appreciate you. And check out, of course, acecoach.com.au.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and a review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok at Tennis with Emma. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.